Alrighty, we're back with part two with the Last Dance director, Jason Hehir. So let's talk about the most memorable interview besides MJ, because there was a ton of people that you pulled for this series. Who really stood out to you?
Steve Kerr, getting to know him a little bit, and then we went to interview his mom at his childhood home. And of all the homes we interviewed anybody at, she has the most idyllic home. It's literally on a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean in Pacific Palisades in Los Angeles, and there's childhood artwork from Steve hanging up on the walls, and just the story of their family I found so captivating. Magic Johnson was as much a fixture as Larry Bird was in my childhood, because he was always, every June I got to stay up late and watch Magic face off with Larry, it seemed like, in my childhood. So he's the guy that I pretended to play against in my backyard when I was Larry Bird in my head. And to be sitting there talking to him was it's one of those out of body experiences. And he just has a presidential presence to himself. I was expecting to get, you're going to get gregarious storytelling Magic, but he, on a dime could shift from gregarious to poignant to thoughtful to incisive and back to gregarious and tell you another funny story with that classic Magic laugh. And then interviewing Larry Bird, I mean, that was you talk about out of body for a kid growing up who watched every Celtics game and had Larry on my walls as a kid. And my brothers and I grew up as diehard Celtics fans. So to finally interview him and to have him he asked me once at the end of the interview, I was gathering my things and he was leaving his office. And he turned around. It was like the Mean Joe Green ad when he turns around and throws the kid the jersey.
Yeah.
He turned around and said,
right?
He turned around and said, "So how often do you get back to Newton?" And I became 8 years old again. I was so flustered. I love going back. I love it. I love you. So that was a thrill too. But so many of these things as a filmmaker, you're really excited to tell these stories and interview these people and ask the questions that you want to ask to make a good documentary. But as a sports fan, growing up, there's questions I wanted to ask as a 10-year-old that I could also ask these guys. So it was a dream come true.
There was like a maybe a Red Sox player in history, like recent or way back, any kind of era. Is there someone you would love to tell a story about, someone you'd focus a documentary on?
Oil Can. I was a big Oil Can Boyd fan as a kid. And I remember when he went, I don't think it could garner 10 episodes, but I would love to do maybe a short film about Oil Can. I remember he didn't get picked for the All-Star team. I think it was in '86. Yeah. And he went AWOL. And there was a picture on the cover of the Boston Herald, was a picture of him throwing a Burger King Coke into the lens of this photographer that came. And it was he used to pump his fist and scream and yell on the mound. And I used to emulate him when I was a kid pitching in Little League, because I loved the way that he used to get pumped up, and I would try and act like him myself. I fashioned my windup after him and everything. So, like I said, you want to tell stories that haven't been told already. Yeah. And I think that Oil Can is one of those rare stories in Boston sports history.
Let's talk about Jordan. Did you get to do anything fun with him? We've seen so many episodes and so many discussions about playing poker, about playing golf. Did you get competitive with Michael Jordan?
There wasn't. We didn't spend that kind of time together. The only time there was a competition, that the second time that I met him, we were going from a hotel in Midtown Manhattan to the Barclays Center in Brooklyn for the Jordan Brand Classic, which is like the McDonald's High School All-American game, except that Jordan Brand puts it on. And he barely knew me. I don't think he knew my name at that point. And we were just dipping our toe into the waters of whether or not we were going to discuss gambling. I was trying to find a way to broach the subject and say to him, "Hey, here are the difficult things we're going to have to discuss. And how do you feel about opening yourself up like that?" So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to broach the subject. And we get in the car and the SUV pulls away. And he turns to me and he says, "I bet you we see 10 pairs of Jordans on the way to the arena."
So did you see 10 or no?
This is the funny part to that story, is that, so we saw like 4 pairs. We're driving down 57th and we get to the FDR, which is the highway on the east side of Manhattan. And I know we're not going to see anything on the highway. So we saw like 4, and I figure I'm in the clear, because what are the chances we see 6, once we get off the highway and go straight to the arena? We get closer and closer to the arena, and it's the Jordan Brand Classic. So there's throngs of people walking in to watch this game, and they're all have their best Jordans on. And I said, "Well, that's not fair."
Yeah, you
Yeah,
walked
right.
into
One
that
for
one.
the classic.
He knew
And
it.
He
He knew
just
it.
looked at me and winked. He knew the whole time. He knew that he had won that bet before he made that bet. That's him.
You fell for it.
I did.
Just saying.
I was proud to.
Hey, before you take off, can you give us like maybe a sneak peek of what's to come here in episodes 7 and 8, or maybe even 9 and 10? Just what we have remaining.
Are they even
That-
finished?
10's not even done yet. So
Yeah. Wow.
it's almost done, but it's not completely done. We're into the playoffs now in the 97-98 timeline. We're into the playoffs. So you're going to see a really cool matchup with BJ Armstrong, who's a former teammate of his, who kind of exacts revenge on the Bulls. And we'll see Michael's reaction to someone who thinks that they can exact revenge on him. 7 is all about what it's like to play with Michael. And how he motivates others. And episode 8 is all about what it's like to play against Michael and how he motivates himself. So those are maybe my favorite pair of episodes in the entire series. And then 9 and 10, you'll see the Pacers series, that Eastern Conference Finals that year, legendary 7-game series. Only the second time in Michael's playoff runs that he got brought to or championship runs that he got brought to a Game 7. And then we all know what happened in 98, and the way that the NBA covered that, and the camera footage that we have and the access that we have is outstanding. So I'm really excited for people to see these Final Four.
Oh, we are excited too. Oh my gosh, so much to look forward to. Jason Hehir, we appreciate your time. The Last Dance has given so many people hope right now and just kind of a break from everything. So again, we appreciate all your hard work and we appreciate your time here today.
Always. Go Sox.